really, it will save you time and it's very good quality. So
Oh, shit. Oh, fucking hell, mate. Fucking hell, Jimmy. Seems reasonable and open-minded, so never say never. Oh, yeah, no, for sure. I think that he has a really good message overall, and I like it. And I'm gonna, he's followed too many debate lords over time. That doesn't matter. A lot of people, I think, arrive at certain conclusions about the world. And whichever way they get there, I don't really fault them for it. It's great. As long as they're like moving away from right-wing reactionary thinking. He retweeted you recently and loves Owen Jones. Oh, nice. Yeah. One thing I will say, he was talking about Jordan Peterson, right? And how Jordan Peterson's like rhetoric about I arrived at you through destiny, then washed in you. That's a crazy journey, my man. Holy shit. That's a wild journey. And I mean, there are people in here that fucking probably despised me because they were right wing, or probably despised me because I thought I was like a fucking bad person or whatever. There's plenty of people who make a lot of money presenting me as like a bad guy online professionally. So it is what it is. He's just tweeted about you. He's watching. Oh, hell yeah. Nice. I'm down to have him on. But if he's watching, I want to show him something. Okay. I wonder if he ever watched this video, because he said he was a fan of the Young Turks. And I wonder if he actually ended up watching this video called Jordan Peterson is not a conservative transphobe. This is from December 30th, 2018, right? And here's the thing. Back then, I understood that Jordan Peterson was a conservative transphobe. This is clickbait title, chat. And I wanted to get people exactly like Jimmy the Giant to click on this video and watch this video where I portrayed the exact same arguments that I have maintained for a very long time. Let's take a look.
That people, and I'm especially thinking of your opponents, get wrong about you.
Their basic proposition is that, you know, first of all, that I'm a right-winger of some sort, and that's just not the case.
Hi guys, just want to remind you all that Jordan Peterson is not a socially conservative lifestyle guru, and he certainly isn't white Deepak Chopra taking advantage of men who feel alienated in our increasingly divided hell world. And you know what? In this short video essay, I will prove that to you. There are plenty of other things I'd love to talk about Peterson, but it would never fit in the format of just one video. So if you have any additional questions or tell me how much I suck, you can direct them to me directly at twitch.tv/hasanabi, where I'm live every day, or on my Instagram at HasanDPiker, or my Twitter at HasanTheHun. Damn, bro, I had 100,000 fucking followers on Twitter and 200,000 on Instagram back then. That's crazy. 5 years ago. All right, let's continue. Let's listen to some of the things Jordan Peterson said in this Breitbart exclusive from a conference where he was the guest speaker alongside many of these other non-ideologue individuals like Sebastian Gorka and Dennis Prager and Tucker Carlson. For the record, I was already shitting on Jordan Peterson being transphobic a long time ago, even far before this, because some of the clips that I pull out, some of the clips that I bring in here, right? This is, you know, December 30th, 2018, okay? December 30th, 2018. It's 6 fucking years ago. But even before then, I kept trying to get people to understand that Jordan Peterson was just like faking the you know, self-help nonsense to push for a lot of dangerous right-wing reactionary ideas, and he was doing so with genuine success. And a lot of people fucking hated me for it back then. Let's watch. Here he is with Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump Jr., Kimberly Guilfoyle, and even Jack Pizzagate Posobiec. Not a conservative, by the way. Just not a conservative.
I think it's partly also a consequence of the fact that we haven't adapted to the birth control pill yet. You know, it was a major technological revolution, the birth control pill, and it's only been 50 years. And we haven't figured out what it means for women to have control over the reproductive function, or what the consequences what the consequences of that should be socially.
Now, Jordan has a lot of wacky ideas about women in the workplace, but that's for another video. In this video, I want to talk about his perspective on trans rights, because that's a big point of contention for a lot of people, including feminist liberal TERFs, or for those of you who are not extremely online, trans exclusionary radical feminists, basically people who say like this.
I'm not saying that people should not be allowed to go through that procedure. What I'm saying is it doesn't make them a woman.
But Hasan, you said he was conservative, and this person's a liberal, and they're in agreement. Yeah, that's also for another video. Okay, back to Peterson. Jordan Peterson initially made a name for himself by misrepresenting Bill C-16 in Canada, which expanded previous legislation on hate speech to include gender identity, in accordance with international human rights. And of course, the backlash was tremendous. People started praising Dr. Peterson as a brave truth teller, finally standing up against those trans bastards who dared to ask for equal rights. And of course, then there were a lot of radical ideologues who claimed that I, Dr. Jordan Peterson, was transphobic. They were all somehow taking me out of context. Look, I'm not against trans people existing. I'm just against being compelled to call someone by a pronoun other than what I think they should be called.
Why are you against the use of alternate pronouns?
I'm against the use of legislation to determine what words that myself and other people are required to utter.
Except the Canadian Bar Association expressly mentions that this is simply a mischaracterization of the law, which is probably why 0 people have gone to jail over misgender crimes in Canada. But what do I know?
I think I've made my position on that clear already. Well, perhaps not to our audience at home who are just being introduced to this. Would you use alternate pronouns? And why not? Because I don't believe that other people have the right to determine what language I use, especially when it's backed by punitive legislation. And when the words that are being required are the constructions, they're artificial constructions of people I regard as radical ideologues whose viewpoint I do not share.
I mean, Peterson's being totally reasonable here, right? Like if a person told me their name was John, I might refuse to call them that because I think their name is actually Bart. Sorry, Bart, you can't compel me to call you anything else. This assignment is totally not arbitrary. Just like gender is totally not a social construct. All men have to express themselves in this traditionally masculine, Western sense, and I've never cared to research how other cultures view gender. Sorry, not going to do it. Someone with less bone density than myself, for example, who can't grow body hair, facial hair, who is 5'4", maybe has a higher pitch, is now going to be considered a woman since gender is absolutely binary. Take that, Jen Shapiro. She is pretty hot, though. But speaking of gender identity and how it absolutely is not functional if we... Dude, I've been running that Ben Shapiro bit for so long. It's crazy. I think I partially am the reason why he fucking grew that beard, bro. Like, I kept saying he can't grow a beard, and I think that motherfucker started putting Rogaine on his face to try and grow a beard. Or maybe because they, like, invented Jen Shapiro in a fucking vacuum, in a vat. Brett Cooper. So then Ben was like, I have to look different than you know, the female version of myself. If we were to live by Jordan Peterson's rules, let's play a little experiment. What pronouns would you use for this person? What pronouns would you use for this person? Well, how about this person? Or even this beautiful MAGA broad? Or this person whose YouTube channel you should absolutely watch because she's amazing even though she doesn't reply to my DMs on Twitter. Like, imagine meeting up with Valentina Sampaio at a restaurant. How would you point her out? Dr. Peterson claims he called them by the pronoun assigned to them at birth, which is literally insane. For those of you who didn't get the point that I was making, every single person I just showed you are very famous trans people. But yeah, this is totally about free speech and not because Jordan Peterson is a transphobe or whatever.
Do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No.
Oh, so that's why he was refusing to do that. I mean, this is a principled academic philosopher king. We're probably taking him out of context. I'm sure he has reasons. Give us your reasons, Dr. Peterson.
Why not?
Because I think that women are capable, generally speaking, of having babies, and they have female genitalia, and they have an XX chromosome, and I think the biological markers are relevant.
Okay. Total bro tip. You should only follow pronouns if you pass. Yeah, for the record, you cynical little shit. Yes, I will address that as well in a second. Just wait for the rest of the video, okay? Before chirping. Yeah. No, this person is shitting on me, saying like, oh, classic reactionary thinking. You should only value someone's gender pronouns if they pass. No, man, sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good to fucking start the conversation, especially considering that gender is a socially developed phenomenon. And it's a social construct. It's probably important to meet people where they're at, you know? Maybe that's precisely the reason why I do a decent job at converting people away from transphobia, and you just fucking come in here and enjoy the show and can, be entertained and know that this is a safe space for you. First off, Buck Angel has XX chromosomes and female genitalia, so I'd be hard-pressed for Dr. Peterson to point out to him in a crowd and try to get others to identify him as a woman, since all of those standards apply to old Buck. This opens up the conversation for people. This is not where the conversation ends, okay? I'm not like a transmedicalist or whatever the fuck, but this is a very good way to start the conversation for a lot of people. Passability is not the end all be all of being trans, okay? But shut the fuck up. I know better than you. I'm a cisgender heterosexual man who literally used to be transphobic. That's it. If your goal is to convert transphobic people to not be transphobic, then yeah, I'm the fucking king of knowing that, okay? Not only have I gone through this journey individually, but also simultaneously have been able to bring a lot of people on board with that lived experience. Get mad all you want. It's the truth. And it's kind of funny because I literally am about to bring this part up as well in terms of passability not being the end all be all. Like, it's coming. Yeah. Standpoint theory for transphobia. Exactly. I'm going to start living the fuck up, dude. Hey, it's called Bodies and Spaces, okay? As a former transphobic person, I'm doing a Bodies and Spaces. You helped me evolve my understanding concerning transphobia as well. I know. This is why I always fucking tell people, like, listen, if I'm talking about black issues, okay, and you're a black person, you're a black chatter, it's not for you. You're black. You already know this shit, okay? You live it. If I'm talking about trans issues, you're trans, you know this already. Okay, I'm talking to transphobes. I'm talking to fucking black, not black chatters, but white chatters who are anti-black racists, So don't fucking come at me and be like, I don't really like the way you didn't utilize academic language. Anyway. Also, are we no longer considering girls who haven't had their first periods women? What about women who have gone through menopause? Sorry, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you're no longer a woman. I will be referring to you as a male now. Do you see my point? Socially speaking, the reality is that we make assumptions about gender from visual cues and not off of chromosomes. Yet the leading champion of the scientific argument constantly conflates biological gender with the contextual assignment of gender we apply socially every day. But even on the biological front, Peterson's principled analysis falls short, since there are plenty of people who'd be considered intersex, specifically 1.7% of the world's population. In context, by the way, if you want to say that, well, that's a tiny minority of people who gives a well, you're a douchebag. Also, that number is higher than the number of Jewish people on this planet. Okay, have you made it up to this point? Now, here are some personal opinions that I have that will most likely piss off some people who considered me an ally up to this point. So if you're deep into gender theory, this might upset you, and if you're a trans person, you might think I'm excusing transphobia, so there it is, I'm issuing a trigger warning. Are we alone yet? Okay, I get why this concept is terrifyingly alien to so many people, okay? This is partially due to centuries of oppression, lack of medical advances, the Nazis setting back trans research by centuries with their book burnings, and in this day and age, a lack of representation in media. I get it. It's already difficult enough to defend your worldview on things that you barely understand, like complex political theories, but changing your mind on something as concrete as gender that you've been conditioned into thinking about in a binary way requires tremendous amounts of introspection. So here is my olive branch to those who haven't had to think about this until now. Trans women are women, and trans men are men. So while I understand that your only introduction to trans folk has probably been hysterical college freshmen on YouTube compilations screaming at your intellectual daddy, there's more to it than that. There are plenty of brilliant trans men and women who are more informed on this subject than myself, and I highly suggest you take a look at their work, especially ones that immediately come to mind right now are ContraPoints, and I already mentioned her in the video, and my esteemed moderator is Twitch at twitch.tv, going to tyt.uk. TYT Network is now available on... So bring back the breakdown for the TikTok era? Yeah. My point is, my arguments haven't really changed. You're so much more articulate when you aren't in front of the scrutiny machine. Oh, you mean chatters? You mean chat? A sea of conflicting opinions, all primed against me? Constantly doing the same thing that they hate when my ideological enemies do it. Anyway, like that one chatter who was fucking saying like, oh, you're doing transmedicalism, like implying that I was doing transmedicalism, and it's not like an effective starting point for a lot of people who genuinely think trans people are gross, weird, bad, whatever.
So be sure to head over to squarespace.com/Jimmy the Giant, and to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain, use the code Jimmy the Giant. Anyway, back to the video.
This the Quran around in your hand
book is
in
the
that
reason.
disgraceful manner.
This book is
outrageous.
This book is the reason we're in such a mess.
Tommy Robinson, the fucking EDL lad!
Boys, I'm not proud of this, but I'm just being an honest person. I'm trying to explain where I was at, how I got to where I was, and how I am where I am now. And so I come across Tommy Robinson in this period of time where he goes to jail for, as he's presenting it to the audience online, trying to report on Muslim grooming gangs. He goes to jail. And I see this as a suppression of journalism, a suppression of free speech by a tyrannical government.
With justice, do you regret
You know, and I ignored the fact that it was contempt of court, and he knew exactly it was contempt of court, and he did it deliberately to provoke this reaction. But the way it was being presented was very clever. Again, it was all about free speech. It wasn't about the underlying issue of Islam, etc., but it was just about free speech. And so when you're already primed to be sort of libertarian, pro-free speech, and you're perceiving these attacks on free speech, you start to wonder, why are they attacking these people for their speech? And it unfortunately has this effect of making you think that the person is a truth teller and the government are trying to suppress them. And it reinforces your belief in what they're saying must have some truth to it, if they want to hide it so bad. And these people, these what I would now consider grifters, they know that. They know that that's the response and the feeling it's going to create in people. They want to be martyrs because then people will follow them even more ardently.
It's so important for the establishment because they know I've reached the people. They know
Free Tommy Robinson and free him now.
Gert Wilders, just the peanut gallery of some of the worst scumbags, dude. Holy shit.
And so, yeah, I go to like a rally, like a free speech rally when Tommy Robinson's about to go to jail, and I come across Nico, and I see Nico, and I've seen him online, and I saw how he was trying to present everyone that went to a Tommy Robinson rally as a racist. And I knew, from my perspective, and knowing who I was, I knew I wasn't a racist. And so I go up to Nico, and I tell the people around him that he's trolling you, and he's trying to like make you look stupid online. And then Nico does...
Jimmy tweeted at me, he said, cheers for watching. I'm gonna have him on the stream if he wants to after we're done watching this video.
Misrepresent me in the video, and he says that I went up to the police and told them to get rid of Nico.
The police then came over and surprise, he started crying to them as well.
When in reality, I was actually saying to the police that Nico has his free speech, because, you know, I'm fucking obsessed with free speech in this period of time. I don't know why. I think it's the single most important thing on earth. But either way, like, as much as I disagree with myself for being at that rally and supporting Tommy Robinson in that time, I still stand by the fact that I don't think these people understood why people were presenting them as racist, right? And I just want to touch on that.
Tell me a Trump policy right now.
I support...
Fake, waffle. You're waffling, man. Yeah, answer the question.
I support his trade policy.
How dare you fake this? How dare you?
You know, now, from, you know, the view I have now, I understand there are sort of two types of racism. There's like overt racism, which is like, you know, I fucking hate migrants when you send them back, they're the worst. And then you have this kind of more like subconscious racism, or like in effect racism. And what I mean by that is, like, I knew I wasn't racist because I grew up...
Oh my God. This is literally, he's talking about the permission structure. Permissible bigotry versus that masquerades as common sense versus out and about racism that even racist people go, over. Now, the interesting part about this is something I talk about quite frequently, as you guys know. The interesting part about this also is that depending on where you're at on the reactionary spectrum, like going to a literal EDL rally, you could still assume that you're not a fucking racist person. And I think ultimately that's because no matter how much we yell at people and say society is racist or whatever, even racists understand that racism is bad up to a certain point, which is why they always subconsciously, or sometimes deliberately and consciously, try to hide their true perspective. Some people might not even recognize that this is their true perspective. And I believe Jimmy when he says he didn't understand why people were saying he was racist. Like, I just care about free speech. That was the entry point for him. People making convincing arguments People telling him like, oh no, this is common sense and this is free speech. And I think that there are a lot of people out there who are rudderless, who are fragile, who are vulnerable, and people like Jordan Peterson open up the floodgates and move them in the direction of the likes of Tommy Robinson. It's a perfect ideological journey. I mean, it's obvious. He went from watching Jordan Peterson videos and thinking that Jordan Peterson is not like right-wing at all. He's just like some woke Canadian professor who is using neutral language, using objective language, and is just simply saying it like it is, to a guy like Tommy fucking Robinson and Douglas Murray. I hate this piece of shit.
Very multiculturally. And I liked people of different races. I had lots of friendships with them and I got along with them very well. So I never in my heart felt anything bad towards people of different races. But what can happen from there is when you think you're like immune to racism, you sometimes are more susceptible to it in a way, but just a different type of racism. These grifters know they can't just say that, I don't know, black people are inferior genetically, although some of them have started doing that again. They've found sneakier ways of wrapping it, often by hiding behind culture. These pundits will lie and say stuff like 84% of grooming gangs are Asian Pakistani, which has been endlessly disproven. It is white people who make up the majority of grooming gangs. But all this misinformation can lead you to believe that their culture is inferior to ours, and therefore we can't mix. And with the Tommy Robinson thing, it's kind of the same when it comes to Islam, right? You didn't hate people for being like...
This guy's awesome. I love this video. Holy shit. Amazing.
Having brown skin. You were simply critiquing their ideology, their beliefs.
You wouldn't do that with
Sir William
Would you
Gladstone
do that with
said
the
that.
Bible? Show some respect.
Show some respect.
Show some respect.
Have you read this
for
book?
people?
Have you read this?
Piers Morgan, the fucking woke Quran defender, by the way. God, fucking Piers, man. What a fucking clown! What a fucking bellend! This is bellend on bellend violence, mate.
There are over
There's
a billion people.
So, you know, I'm listening to the greatest hits, right? I'm listening to Ben Shapiro debate some 12-year-old feminist. I'm listening to Jordan Peterson, Matt Walsh, I'm Joe Rogan till I fucking die. And I find myself accepting that I must be right-wing now. And, you know, little hipster Jimmy, that's cool because now I'm different to everyone. I'm the contrarian, right? I have all the different opinions. Oh no, the sky isn't blue. Actually, no, it's a shade of maroon. And like when you're listening to all this stuff, you get this sort of impression of the left, like what you're perceiving the left to be like, basically the worst of the left.
You know you're a millennial when you question whether or not it's ethical to bring children into this world. Because of climate change, we don't really know whether or not the world's going to be habitable in 30 years.
And so you just get pushed further and further right from more of a reactionary position rather than some actual ideological and maybe academic understanding of economies and politics. It just sort of is a feeling. And it's so funny, like when Ben Shapiro and these sort of people get famous off of facts don't care about your feelings. But to be honest, like conservatives these days, it just seems to be mainly emotion. It's how they feel about topics.
That's, dude, perfect. No notes. And that's always been the case, by the way. Just so people understand. Conservative argumentation has never been around facts. Ben Shapiro actually marketed himself as like the facts-based champion. But I have hours upon hours of video dedicated specifically to how not facts-based Ben Shapiro's arguments are. Like, they've only been able to successfully market themselves as quote-unquote facts-based. But in fact, most of it is just, and this is unfortunately a common trait for all debate lords in general, debate lording online in an unstructured setup that doesn't have like points or whatever is simply who can rationalize logical fallacies faster and justify it. That's all debates devolve into. And I say this as someone who has also, you know, partaken in this. I have done it myself and I still continue to do it myself because I understand like hypocrisy baiting and logical fallacies are actually a very quick way to win points in this conversation, to win people over to your side. But yeah, make no mistake, Republicans have never, ever, ever fucking had facts on their side. They just haven't. They do, however, massage the data. They do a very good job of that, but lately they haven't even tried to massage the data because it doesn't really matter. There's no need for them to massage the data because there is a fucking faucet of right-wing media out there that just reinforces this false notion over and over and over again. And many people don't even fucking want the truth. There's no more intellectual curiosity. Okay? We've gotten to a point where people just want someone who agrees with them to tell them they're right. Okay? It's all fucking vibes based. Yeah. Like, yeah, they went from 1350 shit to simply saying blacks eat cats. Thank you. That's a fantastic example. 1350 still is not actually data. It's a false interpretation of data. We've talked about it quite a bit. 13% of black people cause 50% of crimes is the